So Make Art Not War comes from a story that my dad sort of told me, and I want to tell you that story. Well, it's not really a story, it's a statement that he said to me. He went to art school, but it was the 1930s and he had to go off and fight fascism, and he was blown up in the Battle of Monte Cassino, but the battlefield surgeons managed to stitch his body back together again. But he did die quite a young man in his 60s, early 60s, and on his deathbed he said to me, "Make art, not war." And it comes from an idea about signage, which I've done and I still continue to do, which is sort of, they're kind of props in a performance really, and they're telling people what to do. Of course you can choose not to do the thing, but I think every morning we wake up and decide whether we're going to kind of hold the world together or we're going to kind of wreck it. And I think it's good to try and hold the world together and make art and do creative things rather than do destructive things. This piece is called When Donald Judd Comes to Our Place, and it says, when Donald Judd comes to our place, he has super brew. At his, we get cheapo Titan. And it's sort of saying that when Donald Judd comes to our place, we give him a high quality, high alcohol lager, but when we go to his place, he gives us 2% cheapo lager. And I suppose it's sort of chipping away at the mythology of the artist, really. I actually love Donald Judd, but I sort of think the sort of mythology of Donald Judd is kind of doing things right and putting everything into your art, whereas my art has always been mortgaged to my family, my house, all the other things in my life. So I'm trying to make art out of all the arbitrary things that are happening around me, really. Paintings are painted with Signwriter's paint, using Signwriter's brushes on household gloss primed boards. The thing that I really enjoy out of it is that it's very sort of straightforward and workmanlike and based on the principles of sign writing, which I'm sort of still a complete novice at, really. But I enjoy the fact that you might have rules and then you might want to break them or just ignore them or sometimes adhere to them. And I like the idea in the paintings, it's a formal thing, it's to do with the properties of the painting itself rather than to do with any kind of idea behind it, really specifically. But I like the idea that the font is an Edwardian kind of font dating from 1910 or 1920. But the colours are very modern, they're sort of orange and sort of turquoise and green. And so they're kind of at odds with the history of the font, really. And I quite like the fact that it's an arbitrary juxtaposition of two unrelated sorts of things, really. So I'm not sure what I specifically want the audience to think when they see these. I'd like them to think, if they were a younger kid or child or something, that they could think them absolutely straight, that Donald Judd does come to our house and we do give him cheap beer, or we give him more expensive beer than we go to his house, or that they must go out and make art, not war. But I think on reflection, they're more about thinking about language and how we speak to each other in stories and slogans, and we should inspect that, really. Politicians are always telling us to do specific sorts of things, and they wrap that up in a slogan or a little homily. And I think we should unpack all that and roll it out and see it for what it really is. And I think it's important not to take language for granted, really.